Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to talk about proof that we are not alone in this universe, proof that has accumulated over the past 30 years. Of course, this UFO problem has existed since at least 1947. That's when people across the world, governments across the world became aware of it. But for the past 30 years, there have been certain incidents that have occurred that make it undeniable. And for some reason, the mainstream media, the governments of the world, they seem to ignore this. And I'm sick of it. Everyone should be sick of it. Anyone out there who doesn't believe in this, it's time to open up your eyes. It's time to get over this. It's time to realize that there is a presence here on this planet that's not human, that has technology that far exceeds anything that we have. And we need to acknowledge this as a race, as a species. The human race needs to acknowledge this finally. I'm sick and tired of the cover-up. I'm sick and tired of governments lying. I'm sick and tired of my own government lying about it for decades, and they continue to lie about it. I have had it up to here. I've had it up to here, and everyone else out there should have had it up to here as well. And the people out there who have not accepted this, it's time that you wake up and smell the coffee, because it's over. There's been enough proof that has accumulated over the last 30 years. There are certain different events that have occurred, that have went down, that shows us unequivocally that there's something here. There's no question about it, but yet we continue to ignore this. Now, I know the title of this show, I titled it, Meet the Alien Belligerents Challenging the UFO Secrecy Cabal. Now, belligerents, really, when you're talking about that, you're talking about someone that's, that's trying to cause you to get into a war. But there is a war going on. It's not a war where there's, people with guns and firing it back and forth at each other. No, there's a Cold War ongoing, right? Sometimes there have been events that have taken place over the years. In some instances, it seems that these beings were sending out a message. There's no question about it. They were sending out a message. I just talked about in the previous podcast about how these beings and their UFOs, show up over nuclear sites, nuclear weapons silos, and shut down the missiles or activate them. That's sending a message. That's what they're doing, and they've been doing this for a long time. And they're trying to send a message to the entire world. But yet our leaders, by continuing this cover up, they're not taking the message to heart. Apparently, that's what they're not doing. And if they were taking it to heart, if they were really listening to what these aliens are saying to us, right, they would end these wars that we keep having, that they never end. We're continually killing each other all the time. It's just nonstop. It never ends, right? And it's tiring, and I think that there's concerns by these beings about what we make, what kind of threat we might pose to them at some point in the future as we continue to advance. But it's unknown. I think it's unknown whether some of these cases were if it was inadvertent, if these beings showed themselves inadvertently, or if they did it on purpose. I know at least one of the cases I'm going to talk about today, it was most certainly on purpose. There's no question about it. And we're going to talk about that one first. But before we do, I just want to talk to the people out there. I'm trying to, reach out to people out there who aren't taking this seriously. I want you to pretend, there's that all these things that the government has been telling you, right? Don't even pretend. Actually, just trust me when I tell you, the governments are lying to you about this. They are absolutely lying to you about this. When the people from the Pentagon in recent months and over the years, over the decades, they continually say they have no evidence of extraterrestrials or extraterrestrials in the United States, and so on and so forth. There's no such thing as reverse engineering programs and crash retrieval programs. They keep telling us that. That's a lie. They are lying to you. They are lying to all of us, and a lot of us out there who have studied this for many years know this, but for some reason there's a lot of people in this world who need authority to tell them what's real and what's not real, right? No, that's not. They're lying. The people that we've placed in charge are lying to us for whatever reasons. We don't know exactly all the reasons, but we know that they are lying to us. There is no question about it. And it's time that you guys open up your minds and realize that there is a presence here, and that we need to get over this hump and all accept it as a whole. And I'm going to talk about certain cases tonight where, it's undeniable. These things I've talked about them many times on the show before, but I'm going to review these cases again and present to you the proof. There's absolute proof available to show everyone in this world, everyone in the mainstream news, that we are not alone on this universe. There's no question about it, and that there is something here, and it's here right now, and we don't know exactly what they're up to, but there is something here. We can speculate about that in other shows later on. I've speculated about those kind of things all the time on here. But today I just want to present evidence that shows unequivocally, there's no question about it, there's something here. No doubt about it. These cases here should be able to convince anyone out there. But it seems that there are some people who have issues. They just can't, for some reason, the information bounces off the front of their foreheads and then just bounces away, and they just can't absorb it. They just can't accept it for some reason. There has to be some way to dissolve this mental block. Anyway, before we continue, I just want to show you a little piece I just put together before I started this podcast. Well, I'm going to use this little graphic to try to make a point here. Basically, a lot of us receive information about the alien extraterrestrial reality and non-human intelligence reality, and that information is processed in our prefrontal cortex, right in the front, right behind our forehead. The information goes there. That's which is primarily responsible for critical thinking skills. And then from there, it is absorbed into the temporal lobe, where we have our reasoning skills. So a lot of us are able to process this reality in our brains. Some of us, however, are incapable of that, unfortunately. But the rest of us, the ones who understand, know that it's real. Now, the other people, the ones who aren't accepting this reality, they have a mental block, unfortunately for them. And when this information is presented to them, that block is apparently right in front of their prefrontal cortex, preventing any sort of information from entering the brain, from even attempting to try to use their critical thinking skills. It just bounces right off of it, apparently, because there's so many people out there incapable of processing this information, this reality that we actually are living in. And it's because of that block. So, if you're one of these people that has this block that's blocking your frontal lobe there, then it's time you need to do something to dissolve that block. You need to start chipping away at it. You need to figure something out, because let me tell you something, right? There's something here, and we all need to acknowledge this. We need to acknowledge it, and we need to figure out what's going on and what these things want, what these creatures want. Exactly. We don't know. I mean, there are things going on right now, as I was talking about in the previous show, where there's all the time. There's UFOs showing up over military installations, over in sensitive airspace on a regular basis, constantly, never ending. It never ends. It never stopped. It's always been going on. Right now, there's a lot of focus on what's going on over the UK, over those joint military bases with the United States and the UK. There's 3 bases over there. There's UFOs over there 7 days straight in a row, 7 nights in a row, that people are seeing. Now, we don't know if it's extraterrestrial. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's enemy drones from somewhere else, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that sometimes there are things that show up that are most certainly extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence operated craft. Things that no one on this planet has ever built or manufactured. There's no question about it. But anyway, I want to start with 1994. Actually, it was September 16th, 1994. That's what I want to start off with. Now, at that moment in time, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Rua, Zimbabwe, there was this aerial school where it was a elementary school. A lot of little kids were there on a break, on a recess at around 10:30 in the morning, while all the adults, all the teachers were inside having a conference. And during that period of time, in broad daylight, flying saucers, UFOs, one of them landed. They were seen in the sky, more than one. One of them landed, and creatures exited that craft and began communicating telepathically with a handful of students. There was over 60 little kids, 60 elementary kids that saw this, right? There's just no question about this, right? These kids could not have made this story up. There's no way 60 little elementary school kids could conspire to make up a story like this and continue it all these decades through, because all of them still to this day say the same thing, that's what happened. That's what we saw. There were alien beings out there, short little grays. There's just no doubt about it. And and they communicated telepathically with a handful of these kids. They put images into their minds that showed destruction, and the message was that your technology is going to lead to destruction. That was the kind of message that these kids were receiving telepathically from this one little creature that was there speaking to them telepathically. Unfortunately, as I reported in the previous show, one of those children at the time, Emily Trim, she just passed away. And she's in her late 30s. She died. It's tragic. That's too young to go. But she was one of the people. She actually appeared in a documentary, Aerial Phenomenon, which was produced by Randall Nickerson, who himself, along with his sister, had alien abduction events occur to him when he was younger. And he thought that this aerial phenomenon, aerial school incident, was something that was most certainly worthy of a documentary. And he made an excellent documentary last year. It was released, called Aerial Phenomenon. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. So these kids, all these kids, including Emily Trim, like in that documentary, she was one of them that appeared as an adult in that documentary, and she was saying that it was like the creatures were reaching out to them at the time, trying to, give a message, right? That, hey, technology is bad, and this is what's going to happen. And some of them are having these visions of destruction in their minds. And then after these creatures left, or the kids went screaming away from it, over 60 kids saw this, witnessed these things that weren't human. Imagine. And then they, there was a lot of different investigators that got involved, including someone who was living there in South Africa, Cynthia Hines. She was a UFO investigator, and the late Harvard psychiatrist John Mack. He actually ended up traveling over there at some point shortly after that incident happened. He interviewed all the kids, and at the time, and they all drew pictures. And you look at some of the pictures that they drew, and I'm just going to pull some of them up on the screen here. I mean, there's just no question about it. This one here is probably the most famous one, the aerial school. It's an aerial school drawing of, you see the craft, the flying saucer sitting there, and what looks like your standard short kind of gray alien creature with the big wraparound eyes, big black almond-shaped eyes, right, standing there. That was the one that communicated telepathically with a handful of these kids. And there were other images that these kids drew. They all pretty much told the same story of what they saw. They saw alien creatures, right? Alien creatures who communicated with them telepathically, and actually relayed a warning to them, gave them a warning about technology and what it could lead to. What do you think they were talking about there? I think it was probably something to do with the way we treat each other, the way we create nuclear missiles, and we have them all pointing at each other. That's what they could have been talking about, right? But the reality is that this incident happened. It's undeniable. There's absolutely no way over 60 kids could come up with a story like this and continue to tell the same story decade after decade after decade. It's 30 years ago now. 30 years ago, 1994. So there's just no doubt about it. You look at the pictures that they drew, the kids drew. You watch those documentaries like Aerial Phenomenon. There's no question. As when I saw that documentary, and even before I saw the documentary, I watched other documentaries. There was other documentaries about this. You listen to those kids, you know that they weren't making this up. They couldn't. They couldn't have conspired to do something like that. It's impossible. They actually saw what they said they saw. That's what it was. There's no doubt about it. So, I mean, that was one story there. There's no question about it. Creatures were there. And then, now the second one I want to talk about is something that happened in Turkey in 2007, 2008, and 2009. Kumburgis, Turkey. And there was a fisherman named Yalçın Yalman who took multiple videos over the Sea of Marmara, and there were experts that ended up looking at these videos later on, videos that showed flying craft hovering out way over the sea, way out in the distance, right? But he had a really good camera at the time with a really good zoom lens on it, and he would set it up in the evenings, various times, various videos he took of this. These things were showing up regularly over the Sea of Marmara in Turkey, off the coast of Marmara. And he was filming these things. There was a lot of other witnesses that were there, including the late Dr. Roger Lear, who went on to talk about what he saw, well, with his own eyeballs when he was there. And this was investigated by experts from multiple countries, and they all came back with the same conclusion. This was not a hoax. This was not faked. And when not only do you see craft out there hovering out over the sea, but you see the beings inside the craft. You see the beings inside the craft. They're moving around. Now, I've brought up this analysis before. This was an analysis from a Chilean expert named Mario Valdes from Santiago, Chile. And I want to talk, I bring this up a lot. I'll leave the link for this page. This is something that you have to read. It's incredible, but it's true. It's true. This here is another of a series of events, actually, but an overall incident that, again, just like the Ariel School incident, proves without a shadow of a doubt that what we're dealing with here is a non-human intelligence. That's what this is. These are not human beings. When you look at the images from that video, the faces of the creatures that were piloting these crafts, you see that they're not human beings. There's just no doubt about it. Anyway, I just want to read a little bit from Mario Valdes's analysis of this, and this was written in 2012. And he has a summary of the case. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm going to read some of it. He says the case developed in the location of Comburgus between the years 2007, 2008, and 2009. Its main witness was a night guard named Yalcin Yalman, who, while on duty, registered video of strange objects that appeared at sunrise, like floating or changing while in flight over the sea on the coast of Marmara. Yalman was able to film many video segments, some during the day, accompanied by witnesses with whom he spoke to while he was filming. One singularity of this case was that the images were made with a camera that had an adapter for close-ups of 200 times optical, achieving a great amount of detail of the objects. At first, the videos were analyzed and made public by the Serious UFO organization, directed by the researcher Haktan Akdogan. This case made big news in Turkey and in other countries as well. It also started a great debate between the official members of the Turkish scientific community, specifically the National Council for the Study of Science and Technology, or TÜBİTAK. Got interested in analyzing the original footage with the intention of determining that the video was nothing more than a hoax, gambling on the idea of scale models, toys, or CGI. The original tape was handed to the TÜBİTAK representatives on live TV in their own headquarters. Once the analysis was concluded, they gave an official report from which we took the following fragment. And this is what the report stated. It said the objects observed on the images have a structure made of a specific material and are definitely not any kind of CGI animation or in any means a type of special effects used for simulation in a studio or for video effects. So the conclusion of this report is that the observations are not a model, maquette, or a fraud, and that the last part of the report, it concluded that the objects observed have a physical structure and are made of materials that don't belong to any category of airplanes, helicopters, meteors, Venus, Mars, satellites, artificial lights, Chinese lanterns, etc., and that it mostly fits in the category of UFOs and of unknown origin. Other analysis was done by a video specialist, image edition, and special effect companies from Japan, Russia, and Turkey, all ending up with the same conclusions. In Chile, I asked Professor Jose Atenas to technically examine the videos, an expert in graphics and video with more than 30 years of experience in television. In his appreciation, Jose Atenas also came to the same conclusions that the images are authentic. So far, nobody has been able to demonstrate that the recordings are a product of tricks or some type of manipulation. Therefore, the debate has concentrated more over the nature and origin of the objects filmed by Yalcin Yalman. And what he also said here, Mario Valdes said, to be honest, at the beginning, my idea was to analyze the videos, hoping to find some elements in them that would be evidence of a possible fraud, taking in count the spectacular manner in which the case was labeled. Announced that for the very first time a UFO was videotaped with its occupants precisely inside one of the objects, not a minor issue for those of us who are obsessed with these themes. It was from skepticism, and why not say it, with a quote of prejudgment, I decided to take some time and check out the fragments of the movie. You could say that my expectations were to find the string of the puppet, but guess what? He never did. He came. This guy here came to the same conclusion as all these other video experts from all these other countries. They all found the same thing, that there was no tricks involved, nothing like that, no tricks involved. And when you look at this page, this is a great site, and I'll leave the link for it. I don't know how long this blog site's going to last. At some point, it's going to get taken down, I'm sure. Just like, unfortunately, Stanton Friedman's website went down after he passed away. And you can see there's different still pictures that he grabbed here where you could see the beings and the craft. I mean, there's just no doubt about this. No doubt about it. Here you can see the creatures actually moving in there. I mean, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible, the images that they caught. Like this picture here. I mean, look at that. That's a big-headed, non-human entity. That's what that is. And there's multiple images like this that were captured in the videos that Yalson Yalman produced. It's incredible stuff. Incredible. Look at this. That's an alien creature with big black eyes, just like people talk about all these years. And in this image here, there's two aliens apparently manipulating maybe a human being that's in a prone position. Like maybe maybe they were actually filming an abduction. We really don't know. And then he did. These are some of the originals. In addition to the big-headed gray type creatures, there's praying mantis style creatures as well, overseeing what was ever going on in the crafts. I mean, this is incredible stuff, and it's undeniable. It's undeniable, and there were many other witnesses there alongside of Yalman when he was filming some of these things, and they saw it too with their own eyes, and including, like I stated earlier, the late Dr. Roger Lear, who said he couldn't believe. It was incredible what he was seeing. It was incredible the things that he was seeing. Here's another image where you could shows them that they're moving. Now, like this is a famous picture here that I'm showing you right here. This is the original image on top where you could see two creatures with the big heads standing over someone that's laying down, perhaps a human being, and on to the right here is a praying mantis. And then they did a drawing of what Valdez did a drawing showing what he's seeing there, and then he put the drawing on top of the original, and this is what it looks like. And then, of course, there's this picture here, like I showed before. This is one of the famous images to come out of this big-headed, non-human creature, which is no question about it. No question about it. Do you not see this? I mean, are you someone out there? I mean, if you're one of those people out there who is having trouble, I don't know how you cannot see this. What a lot of me and a lot of other people are seeing. There's something there that's not human. Obviously, it's obvious, right? And we heard from the experts, all the experts that looked at this from 4 different countries at least, right, that looked at this saying that, yes, there was no trickery here. It's just anomalous and we have no explanation. Well, the explanation to me is very clear. These creatures meet the descriptions made by many people over the years of alien creatures that they encountered. And here we finally caught them on video. This was some of the best evidence we have. Some of the best evidence that there's ever been for the alien presence on Earth. And it's just, not only there's another website on YouTube. I'll leave a link for this where you could actually watch all these different videos, hours worth of different videos that Yalson Yalman filmed of this objects floating out there over the Sea of Marmara, and you'll see it's undeniable. It's absolutely undeniable. And here's another famous picture, a famous image taken from these videos, and this was enhanced by my friend Shannon Scott of Military Witnesses to UAP. Now, this creature here, unlike the other ones will look like more like one of them looked like an insectoid kind of creature. The other ones were like short and gray creatures, perhaps, with big heads. And then this one here looks more reptilian to me. That's what it looks like to me. And it seems like, a lot of people who see these things, who encounter aliens on a regular basis, you'll hear from a lot of different abductees that there's more than just, it's not just the little grays. There's little gray creatures, there's taller gray creatures, and then sometimes when people are brought into the crafts to have examinations done on them or procedures or whatever by these creatures, there's, in addition to the grays, there's short grays, tall grays, also these seems like these insectoid or praying mantis-like creatures are overseeing it. They're the ones in charge. And then sometimes there's also reptilian kind of creatures. They look more reptilian-like, and they seem to be to have the same kind of duties as the Greys. Like they're all working for apparently the praying mantis or insectoid kind of creatures. This stuff, as crazy as it sounds out there, there are people out there in this world who have not accepted this or who don't think about it, or who have this information information whenever it's presented just bounce off the front of their forehead and doesn't go any further than that. It's time to wake up. This is real. This is real. Okay, and then finally, I want to talk about the more recent case, that was from 2023, and I've talked about this a number of times on my show, and I'll try to make this as brief as possible because I've talked about it all the time. It's the Las Vegas alien incident that occurred right before midnight on April 30th, 2023, and midnight and after on May 1st, 2023. There was a family in Las Vegas that a craft came crashing down into their backyard, made a hard landing. I don't know if it was crashed because by the time the cops came a few hours later, the thing was gone along with the creatures. But what happened was this object was seen by people from 4 different states flying through the sky. It was a green and bluish looking object. A lot of people, a lot of experts out there, end quote, will tell you that it was a meteor, but it could not have been a meteor because when that thing came down, it made a hard landing in the backyard of this Las Vegas family. This is a fake name. They're the Kenmore family. Their real name is out there floating. I'm not going to say it on here, but it's the pseudonym is the Kenmore family. And there was mother and a father, Bobby and Contra, and also their 2 sons, Angel and Joshua. Angel and Joshua were working in the backyard, working on their father's truck just before midnight when this object came making a hard landing in the backyard. Next thing you know, they saw these 2 8 to 10 foot tall alien insect-like creatures in the backyard. Angel looked at one of them. He became paralyzed when he looked at this temporarily, and then they got out of the yard. They told the mother and father about it. The father and the 2 sons got handguns, and they're going to go into the yard and either scare those creatures out or shoot them, while the mother filmed it with the cell phone camera. And the second they went back and tried to go into the yard, they got scared out because one of these creatures came jumping up out of nowhere, out of the darkness, chased them out of the yard. But when you look at the video was looked at by crime scene reconstruction expert Scott Roeder from Ohio, right? He looked at it, him and his team. He has a company there in Ohio. They looked at it. They made the determination that the cell phone footage was not hoaxed. It was not faked. It was nothing. It was original. It was authentic, and there was no CGI or anything added afterward. But when you look at that video, throughout the entire video, there are alien creature faces, appearing and disappearing throughout the entire thing, and it becomes undeniable. There was a creature who chased him out of the yard, right? There was no question about it. Then there was another creature that was its face showed up above the fence. It was one of those 8 to 10 foot tall creatures that they were talking about, and these creatures were using some sort of cloaking technology, which was why their faces were appearing and disappearing throughout the video. That's what was going on. In fact, there was no explanation for it. Scott Roeder had no explanation for it. In fact, when the image of that face, the part of the video where that face appears over the fence, 66% of the pixels were deleted for some reason. They were actually somehow able to manipulate the cell phone camera somehow, and that's what was going on. But we did get enough of it to make out the face, just as they described, just as the witnesses described. That's all they remember seeing. That's all they saw was these 2 8 to 10 foot tall creatures. But there were other creatures in there. When you look a closer analysis of the video, there was other things in there all over the place. There were faces appearing in the cab of the vehicle. There was another tall creature standing in front of the cab that appeared that looked very similar to an alien creature that was described by 4 young men who got abducted in the Allagash Wilderness in Maine back in 1976. It looks just like it. If you put the drawing of what one of those abductees had remembered under hypnosis, because they had missing time and all that in 1976, he did a drawing of when they were in the spaceship, and you take that picture and you put it side by side with this creature that just appears off and on in front of this heavy equipment, in front of this front loader. You put them side by side, it's the same thing. It's a weird looking insect-like alien creature. And then there's other things that appeared. There was these 2 heads that appeared inside the cab at the same time. Very strange looking, very big, very large. And then there was, toward the end of this video, there was, you could see what looked like a reptilian kind of a creature that was cloaked for the most part, but for a few seconds you see it. It's there, and then it just disappears again. You can't see it. There's all kinds of stuff appearing and disappearing throughout. And then most incredibly to me was a short gray that appears. It's incredible. But in one segment of the video, after they got chased out of the yard, they were all flustered, and then they reopened the gate and they trained the camera back on the heavy equipment, and you could see in that video, they didn't even see it apparently. They didn't report this stuff, but we found it later on. By continuously analyzing the video, we saw it later on. We see this little gray creature moving around. You could see it moving around. I've actually given it the name the Undeniable Backbreaker, or UB for short, because it's real. There's no getting around this fact. It's an absolute real thing. Right? It proves it. All of this stuff I just presented. The Ariel School incident from 1994, the Cumbergus Turkey UFO videos, alien videos from 2007, 2008, and 2009, various videos showing creatures in craft, hovering craft over the Sea of Marmara, right? Unbelievable stuff, but it's real. It was looked at by experts, and there's no question about it. And then you look at the Las Vegas alien stuff. That's guaranteed 100%. That's the best proof we ever had. There's nothing better than the Las Vegas alien evidence to this point. Nothing compares to it. Nothing. So the evidence is out there, and I'm sick and tired of living in this world where people aren't accepting this. There's a lot of people in this world who just refuse to accept it, refuse to educate themselves on it for reasons unknown. I blame this a lot, some of this on the mainstream news, because they're I don't know if they're just obtuse or whatever. I don't know what their issue is, right? Or maybe they're just because they're part of the establishment. They don't want to rock the boat too much. But I'm tired of the Pentagon lying about this. We need to come clean as a species and just face this reality already. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. It's time to move on. It's time to get over the hump. And look on top of all of this, you think about what's been going on the last few years. You have people testifying under oath to different congressional, just recently, you had Lou Elizondo, you had Tim Gallaudet, a retired rear admiral in the United States, from the United States Navy, different government officials testifying under oath. Last year we had David Grush testifying under oath that there are reverse engineering and crash retrieval programs, and that they have recovered alien biologics. Right? How come we're not? This isn't a bigger story. We're not alone, and we have the evidence to prove it. So I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick of the cover-up. I'm sick of the dumb people around here who just won't allow this reality to penetrate their cerebral cortex. It's time to get over this. It's time to move on. It's time to have the scientific community be more involved in this and have this discussion. We need to think about our place in this universe. What are we doing? Anyway, I just want to say this. I'm tired of the cover-up, and I want it to end, and I want the world to accept this reality already, because it is real. It's undeniable. I mean, and I tell you what, I'm somewhat qualified to talk about this because I had my own personal experiences. When I was a little kid, I had a creature showing up in my room. Some creature would have 3 digits on its hand. It was not human, whatever it was. And it somehow conked out everybody else in the house. I was the only one awake for a 20-minute period, and there was something there, no doubt about it. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a demon from hell. And it took me at least 10 years to figure out that it was an alien, because I didn't know anything about that stuff when I was a kid back in the 70s. And then in 1994, during a fishing trip, I saw a UFO with a friend while we were night fishing. It was incredible. There was no way it was something that could have been made by man. No way. It made no sound. It was only 2.5 stories off the ground, and no sound whatsoever. It was as big as a house with 3 big giant lights on it, right within 20 feet of me, moving around in ways that aircraft we have couldn't move around. There's just no way. So this is real, folks. It's real, and it's time for this world to wake up. And I'm sick of our officials who continue to lie to us. I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of seeing people standing up from the Pentagon at podiums and just barfing up lies about this. We're sick of it. A lot of us out here are sick and tired of it. We want it to end. Anyway, I just want to say this. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.